Changing spark plugs on boxer engines like the EJ engine in the WRX STI can often seem like a tricky process due to the lack of space and visibility you have to work with. But with a little patience and determination, you'll be able to do this job yourself. Subaru recommends the spark plugs to be changed as part of your 60,000 mile maintenance, while some Subaru dealerships say the OEM spark plugs can last around 100,000 miles. Currently, my car has just over 83,000 miles, and the old spark plugs look like this. So if you think it's time for some new spark plugs, and you're up for the challenge, join me as we change out our spark plugs. Some tools you'll need include 4 spark plugs. This time I'll be using the OEM NGK Subaru spark plugs, a 5/8 inch spark plug socket, a 10mm and 12mm socket, ratchets, an extender and universal swivel joint will also make this job much easier. Trust me. And you may need some additional tools like a screwdriver, Allen wrenches, and pliers for removing a few parts in our engine bay. Now, in order to change out the spark plugs for cylinder 2 and 4, we must remove the battery and air pump. There's literally no getting around it, unless you have tiny hands. To remove the battery, first remove the negative and positive terminals from the battery by using a 10mm socket to loosen up the nuts. Then remove the battery tie down by loosening up more 10mm nuts. Now we can take the battery out. To remove the air pump, we must first take off this front plastic cover. Let's use a flathead screwdriver to remove the plastic pop clip and our 10mm socket to remove the 2 bolts. Then the plastic cover should easily come off, revealing 3 more 10mm bolts to remove, located at the top, bottom, and back of the air pump. Then just disconnect the harness. The air pump is now ready to be removed. Simply use a pair of pliers on this hose clamp and pull off the air pump. Lastly, there will be 1 more 10mm bolt to remove on this air pump duct inlet tube. Once that's off, simply pull up on it and we'll have access to the coil packs for cylinder 2 and 4. Starting with cylinder 4, let's loosen up the 12mm bolt on the coil pack. There isn't enough room to pull the coil pack straight out, so you may need to rotate the coil pack 180 degrees, push forward a little, and wiggle it out to get it to squeeze past the rail. It's really not the most ideal design, so I hope you like Tetris. We can also unclip the coil pack to give us more room to get the spark plug out. To remove the spark plug, I'm using an extender on my ratchet and a universal swivel joint, with the spark plug socket at the end to give me more mobility in such a small area. Now we can use our ratchet to remove the old spark plug. And the first spark plug is out. Time to prepare to install the new spark plug. The recommended gap size for our spark plugs is 0.028 through 0.031 inches. And since these come pre-gapped out of the box, it's not really necessary to use one of these gapper tools, especially since many mechanics actually advise against it when working with the delicate electrodes on iridium spark plugs. When screwing on the spark plug, it's really important not to over tighten it. So once the spark plug feels hand tight and no longer easy to turn, only go about 1/4 to 1/2 turn more. Once that's in, we can reconnect our coil pack. Make sure it clicks, and just like before, we'll have to rotate it 180 degrees and maneuver it a bit in order to get it to go back into place. Once we do, make sure the bolt is facing towards the front of the car with the connector facing down, then tighten it back up. Now let's move on to cylinder 2. Just like the last one, loosen up the 12mm bolts and pull out the coil pack. The rest of the spark plugs are significantly easier to replace since there's more space to work with. So it's not really necessary to unclip the coil packs if you don't want to. Simply remove the old spark plug, take a look at the condition of it, then screw on the new one. Secure the coil pack, making sure the bolt is facing towards the front. And now we can work on reinstalling our air pump and battery. Let's reattach the air pump duct inlet tube with the 10mm bolt. And connect the air pump. Remember to reconnect the harness, then secure the air pump with the 3 10mm bolts. And install the plastic cover using the pop clip and 2 10mm bolts. Now we can work on reinstalling the battery. First, secure the battery with the battery hold down. Then connect the positive and negative terminals. Alright, just like that, we're already halfway done, and cylinders 1 and 3 are a breeze compared to what we just went through, since there will be much more space to work with. On the passenger side, all we have to do is remove the intake. I have the Cobb SF intake on my WRX STI, but you may have a different one, so just be sure to uninstall the one you have. I'll start by removing a couple plastic retainers holding down this air inlet duct, and unscrew these 2.5mm button head hex bolts from the top of the airbox. Then remove a few more 10mm bolts holding down the intake, and remove the two 3mm Allen head screws securing the mass airflow sensor. Now I'll loosen up the hose clamp and remove the intake. Lastly, I'll unscrew the 10mm bolts and nuts holding down the intake box and remove it from the car. With that out of the way, we can now access our coil packs for cylinder 1 and 3. Starting with cylinder 3, let's remove the coil pack and take out the old spark plug. By now, I'm sure you're starting to get the hang of it. Screw on the new spark plug. And once the spark plug feels snug, give it no more than 1/4 to 1/2 turn. Put the coil pack back in, this time making sure the bolt is facing towards the back of the car with the connector facing down. Okay, we finally made it to the last spark plug, and we've saved the easiest and most accessible spark plug for last. They don't call it cylinder number 1 for nothing. Remove the coil pack by loosening up the 12mm bolt. And take out the old spark plug. Install our clean brand new spark plug, only giving it an extra 1/4 to 1/2 turn. Then put the coil pack back on with the bolt facing towards the back of the car and tighten it up. Now that all of our spark plugs are installed, the last thing we have to do is reinstall our intake and we'll be all done. The car starts up successfully and the installation of our new spark plugs is complete. If you're feeling confident and you're ready for more DIY, check out some of my other car maintenance videos and be sure to subscribe for more automotive content.